Welcome back to the Pain Game YouTube channel. We are in Riyadh, lads.
Yes.
Come on.
Back again, being a normal.
Bro, commentating once again, alternative commentary on DAZN for one of the best fights ever made in this Riyadh season. I mean, it's unbelievable. Beterbiev versus Bivol. Don't forget, you can catch the pay-per-view live using the link in the description below. We didn't get the best trash talk from the champs. However, we did get a little bit of needle from Beterbiev and Eddie Hearn. Joey, what did you make of that?
Do you know what? I thought it was good. I feel like Eddie Hearn knew coming into this fight that maybe these guys weren't going to be the most prolific of trash talkers, and maybe he would need to get an edge in there. And it was interesting. The way Beterbiev took it was quite interesting as well. He sort of laughed it off, and he was almost pretty dismissive of Bivol. And then something that happened very shortly after that, if you want to read into the psychology of the build-up here and the words between the fighters, right, you could take it in that moment as Eddie Hearn speaking for Dimitri Bivol. Moments later, Frank Warren almost tried to speak for Artur Beterbiev. He leant in and said, well, you're a natural light heavyweight, unlike Canelo. Artur Beterbiev looked at him and went, I don't need to speak about Canelo. and straight away, that for me is key, because when we speak about the psychology here, there's so many little battles that you'll need to win going into a fight. And that for me would be a small battle that I've just won there, thinking you needed your promoter. I didn't need anyone to speak to me. I don't sing to anyone's tune, and I do things my way.
I did a video the other day, lads, not sure if you caught it, about Bivol's ex-lady coming out, dishing the dirt on all of his injuries, talking about his back problems, his hand problems, his ear problems. What on earth will that be like, knowing he's going against a killer and yet he's got that added stress on his plate? What do you make of that, lads?
I honestly don't think it's going to make one iota of a difference at all, right? Fighters through the duration of their career are always battling injuries. Her revealing that is not anything significant.
The fact that she's cheering him on, though, is that not a bit odd?
She's an X for a reason, guys.
Is this a case where Bivol is postured a little bit for a period of time, knowing I've got to get you at the perfect time? He's 39. This couldn't have come at a better time. You can see his body is breaking down a little bit. Do you think this is all about timing, Loza?
Absolutely. I mean, he's been chasing what Beterbiev's had right from the amateurs. He's always been looking up to him, you know, probably feeling inferior of him, you know what I'm saying? And there's no, you've seen the way Beterbiev behaves, the way he just is so dismissive. And we're seeing that there, you know, in the press conference when Frank Warren kind of said, oh, what about Canelo, not a true light heavyweight? And he was just like, listen, I don't need to talk about him. You know what I mean? He's just so dismissive. And I just think now we've seen Beterbiev's body starting to break down. He's had multiple injuries, you know what I mean? And like you said, he's trying to maybe, you know, in that public workout, he tried to do the press-ups on his knuckles and all the rest of it to show the crowd that, you know, my body's not breaking down, I'm still prepared. But I think Dimitri Bivol's definitely, if he's going to win, now's the time.
I don't think there's ever a good time to fight Beterbiev. And what it didn't live up to in terms of speaking, this is one of those ones that in the ring, it is going to go off. This is going to be explosive. These guys have probably held back just to give more in the ring. Two guys that, again, you can say the stuff about the wife and stuff in the background, but then you're talking for the nation. Bivol looks like he's the home fighter here. You're hearing, as soon as he came out, he's got the crowd. Everyone screaming his name. I know Beterbiev is probably thinking to himself, well, I'm the man. I've got a knockout rating. They need to be screaming my name.
On to Clark versus Wardley, lads. I mean, there's a lot of allegiance here. Loza, good mate with Clark. Clark came out with some interesting things as the guy who didn't show them more power, but more of the technique in the last fight. He said, no, seek and destroy this time. I'm coming for the knockout. Is this him bluffing, or do you think this is the genuine strategy?
I can't believe that that's going to be his tactics, because he'd be making a mistake, because that's playing into Wardley's hands, and he is the more technical guy, and I believe he's going to learn a lot from the last fight. He's going to be going out there with a nice basic tactics of, you know, boxing, using his natural attributes that he's got from all that experience on GB. Why would he go and meet fire with fire? That's not his game. He's not the biggest of puncher. Don't get me wrong, any man at that weight can punch. It'd be making a big mistake if he went in there trying to meet fire with Wardley.
If he tries to go fire for fire with Wardley, he's getting knocked out. Thing is, for me, I picked up a lot of weird vibes from him in this presser. Like, that handshake in the middle of nowhere was absolute nonsense. That screamed to me nervous energy. You're talking about KOs. You're not really a KO puncher like that. You're going to get in there with Wardley. I feel like there's a bit of nervousness, and I think he might be anxious because, yes, he could just have a new game plan and just box just a little bit better, but he's still got to fight a dog. You're going to have to fight dog rounds with this guy because he's going to be an absolute live wire for the first 5, especially.
I don't. Again, I feel like the ultimate contrarian today.
Cool.
Do you know what he learned? Do you know what he learned in the last fight? He learned something about himself. There was fear. I think he didn't want any parts of Fabio Wardley in the first one. Even in the build-up to negotiations, didn't want to see him. He realized something. I can live with you. I can bang with you. I can do this. And I think in the final rounds, he's saying to himself, well, if I know that about myself, I got to kind of let you know. And that little walk over there, and it's a little piece of psychology, but it's like, mate, I'm now ready to mix it. Before you got a different version of me. A version of me that was a bit timid, a bit shy. I know what I can do in these rounds.
I have to disagree, you know. I think when you're trying to make friends before a fight in that way,
thank you.
It says the energy, I'm not comfortable. And one thing we have seen in the past is, it's not that I'm saying he doesn't think he can win the fight, but he knows it's going to be a fucking hard night.
There we go.
Regardless. So
yes.
I think the handshake is him going, I don't want it to be as hard. I think he's trying to take the edge off. He's trying to disarm his opponent a little bit.
The problem with that, if we're going on who has evolved more from the first fight, who will be able to take more from that first fight away with them and put it into practice, for me, it is Fabio Wardley, because whether it's amateur contests that are over a shorter format or not, Fraser Clark has mixed at a higher level. Now, not in the pro ranks, but you look at some of the guys he's fought in the amateurs. Joseph Parker, Joe Joyce, Anthony Joshua, Sergei Kuzman. He's fought so many decent names in the amateurs that he would have understood going into this that I can live it from an ability standpoint, from a technical standpoint. I can definitely hang it with this guy who's not been boxing anywhere near as long as me. So for Fabio Wardley, I feel like he's ticked more boxes and answered more questions to himself in that first fight. And that's why he's probably the one that's going to be able to come in there more fired up and with more momentum.
The problem with the difference between them two is that Fabio Wardley has a dog in him that Clark does not have, and he cannot learn that in a camp.
Listen, I've got to disagree straight away. I've been all over the world with Fraser Clark, and one thing he's got is that dog in him. I mean, the amount of rounds he's shared with the likes of, Joe Joyce, AJ.
I've seen it
feeling kind of Yorkshire Terrier-ish at the moment, bro.
Yeah.
It's not feeling like a big dog at the moment, bro.
How did you see that dog? Serious question.
Quantify it.
In what context did you see that dog? Did you see it as in he's got dog in him because he's been able to take a beating, stay in there and battle through, or how Fabio Wardley showed it in a case of, I'm able to take the fight to a more experienced man?
It's the simple fact is, I've seen it many times before in the gym. Yes, that's different to actually fight night, but I have seen it at tournaments with guys when he's not been the more mature guy. And even on fight night, if you look at the guy who I would say maybe had a harder time on the night, it was Fraser Clark. He was put down. He was the one under the pressure throughout the whole fight in terms of getting hurt, hitting the canvas and getting back up. So if anyone, had to overcome more, I think it's Fraser Clark. Yes, he's more experienced in the amateurs, but as a pro, he hadn't done them 10 rounds. I know Wardley.
You should be a promoter, Loz, honestly. You're really selling them.
Listen,
well done, mate.
I know Wardley, he'd stopped a lot of his opponents, so he hadn't really went the distance. I think both guys had a lot of questions that needed to be answered, and they both answered them. But in terms of the pro experience, because I don't see amateurs and pros the same. Yes, boxing's boxing, it's still punching. But over that, once you get past that third round from the amateurs, when it gets tough, the stamina side of things, the power side of things, the smaller gloves, and then when you're a professional boxer, when you've got your hands wrapped, it's a lot different. Your hands are like stones, you know what I mean? So I just feel like Fraser had answered a lot more questions than what Wardley did, in my opinion.
I've got to bring us on to Liam Cameron, Ben Whitaker. That did get a bit spicy there.
It got nice.
We've seen Cameron call himself the Sheffield Beterbiev. We've seen Ben Whitaker say, ask your mates, they'll tell you what I do to people like you, which I kind of enjoyed. What kind of vibes we're getting from those two?
I think Liam Cameron is going to come in here supremely confident. Now, I understood that, albeit in a lower weight division, Liam Cameron, before he served the ban, was on a good path, and he was obviously racking up some good victories. I think he was boxing or mandatory to box for an English title. So there's no doubt, despite what I don't want people to do with this fight, because I really understand it, that this is Ben Whitaker's toughest test. I don't want people to go on to BoxRec and to look at the 6 losses in Liam Cameron's win and loss column and think that the guy that was 12-0 before was more of a test. Liam Cameron is 10 times tougher test than Ben Whitaker has been in there with, I would say. So I honestly think, and as well, to bring it back to the amateur pedigree, Loza, you were saying he was a standout amateur as well. I think that Liam Cameron will be coming in here respectful of Ben Whitaker's skills, but I think that with his own pedigree himself and almost unfulfilled ambition, that's going to really spur him on the night.
What did you not make, though, of him saying that the British public don't like you because of your fighting style?
They say that about everyone that's flashy. Yeah. They said that about Naz. They say that about everyone. I think the British public love him. I know I'm always excited to watch him.
Check the clicks, check the likes, bro.
Exactly.
The numbers don't lie. And someone who really doesn't lie with the numbers, Chris Eubank Jr., who came out dressed to kill. He looked great with his fucking massive sword on his shoulder. I mean, he really did. He always steals the show, but he did it again. But there were a few comments, and Travis, you picked up on something where he said, "I'm hot, I'm thirsty."
Yeah.
And it was an interesting to say. Is this a weight cut issue? Maybe.
I think there is a weight cut issue. He's been referencing his weight. He's been referencing the fact that he's like, "Oh, I still got some weight to, this thing's going to help me cut the weight." But the thirsty reference was like, "Oh, confirmation. You are struggling to make weight."
35 now,
35 years old. But I think, if we're talking about the potential banana skin of the night, that one is the one that I can't move off. I'll be honest. And the thing is, the reason why I say this is that, his opponent right now, I forget his name now.
Serezmata.
But his only losses are against Golovkin and Munguia, right? And I watched him and I was like, your style, there's something a bit weird about his style that I think could give Eubank some issues. Eubank's boxing, whilst I'm a big fan of his, I can't ignore the blatant holes I've seen in his game on several occasions. He could come unstuck here if the weight cut is an issue and he's not the usual Eubank.
And Trav, you don't know what kind of Eubank that we're going to get as well. Are we going to get Roy Jones Eubank? Are we going to get Bomac Eubank? Or are we going to get the new improved? I think this is
Jonathan Banks.
Another trainer, by the way.
So God knows. It's another trainer. The one thing we can be sure of is, in these Riyadh cards, something mad happens. Something where we're looking at a screen, looking like we give a prediction and it goes wrong, And obviously Don Charles doesn't like a wrong prediction, but we've been in these positions before. We've been in this position before. We need to be careful, guys. We need to get everything right.
All I'm saying is, I wasn't ready for that. One thing that Eubank did say is that it's a lifetime of preparation, a lifetime of dedication, and you're thinking you're so prepared that you admittedly needed a tune-up fight after a year out. How dedicated have you been? That is a question for me. I'm not sure.
I don't know how much of a tune-up fight this is. I've got to agree with Trav. You look at Serezmata, he's only been stopped by those two guys. Now, you would fancy both of those guys on their day against Eubank Jr. Then when you look at the fact he's been fighting twice a year, that's more active than Eubank Jr. has been. Also, stylistically, I think that he's got a style that is very suited to what Eubank Jr. likes. He tucks the elbows in, he comes in tight, which is great for someone that likes to throw these flashy combinations, as we've seen from Eubank. But at the same time, former European champion, right? So if we look at the quality he's mixed with, I don't want to disregard the Liam Smith fight. I think quite a lot of people would think that maybe that wasn't a 100% version of Liam Smith.
Yeah.
This is going to be, I'm not going to say it's the toughest test of Eubank Jr.'s career. It's the toughest test he's probably had this decade. This is a hard fight.
This brings us on to one star boy who was mentioned. Hamza Shiraz was put to him.
Listen.
What do you think of that? How do you rate yourself in comparison to him? And Chris Eubank, he didn't even mention his name. He just said, I'm the best around. He wouldn't even dignify the man with the name.
And you know what was crazy as well? Dev Sani gave him the opportunity. He's like, Hamza's over there. Hamza's in front of you. What's going on? And let's not forget the scumbag statement that happened before. There's this needle. They want to take this guy. He's almost here to be knocked off his perch. So right now he's in a room full of haters, and he has to make them continue hating. But I think they're just hoping for his downfall and they want that fight, but I don't think he wants any part of it because he should have said something. He said, I'm the best in the division, but then, well, he's here. Say something to him.
If Conor Benn was here, he would have said something to Conor Benn. Shiraz was right there, and they've been whistling this name at him for a minute. He does not want to say his name.
I think stylistically, Hamza's all wrong from. Eubanks likes to be in the pocket because me personally, I don't think Eubanks is great at range. I know we're kind of seen a little bit against Liam Smith, sorry. He looked quite good, he boxed a little bit, but like was said, Liam Smith was a shadow of his former self. He definitely had a lot of issues going
I think we're being unfair though. When you say shadow of his former self,
well, he beat him before.
He looked injured,
but he sprained both his ankles during that fight.
The guy didn't look right.
No, but he beat him before. Like, I think he'll be unfair. Like, he actually, what happened to Eubank in the last one? Eubank got broken. No one seen Eubank lose like that. He had to exercise the demons, go in there, and he made Liam look
you don't do this with AJ and Ruiz.
What do you mean, bro?
AJ Ruiz, the
I've
second
done
one.
it.
You don't do this. I'm like, wait a minute.
I just think it was a perfect opportunity to make Eubanks look good, and this isn't me discrediting him, but I think it was a perfect opportunity. It reminded me a little bit of AJ with the Wallen and then Ngannou fights. It was a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, it was style-wise.
We thought that he looked good, but I think the style made him look good on the night.
Jack Massey, Jai Opataya. That one was
love
the
this.
spiciest of the lot, right?
I love it.
When people start bringing up their kids, both men said, hey, and I quote, I'm taking that belt back to my daughter. I seen your eyes when that happened because you got a little girl.
I've got a little girl.
Yeah, you felt
and I was thinking, one daughter's not going to get what she wanted.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to come back and see. She's going to be like, where's the belt, Dad? And he's like, I don't have it. You know what I mean?
Because of the other guy.
Look at my face. You know what I mean? But bloody hell, like, what was getting through you lot's mind? Because I was thinking, as soon as you mention the daughters,
It's different now.
it's now we're on a different phase, and it's one thing about this is what I like about trash talking. Sometimes people talk about and say it has to be WWE style. It didn't even need to be.
Nah.
You could feel the undercurrent.
That was real men
You
shit.
could
It
feel
was, yeah.
two guys that said, you know what, on the night, me and you, with Mano, and let's see what
And
happens.
you know what I loved as well is the fact he wanted to maintain eye contact with Opataya throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
He was looking at him like, listen, mate, I respect you, but when we get in there, I'm absolutely going for it. Like, forget all of this. This is nice, but I'm doing this for my family and my kids. Like, the root of it was lovely. And Opataya saying it back to him like, I'm taking my belt back to my daughter was like, bro, we are one and the same.
Yeah.
This fight is going to be insane,
I think
bro.
Jack Massey's he's a professional career at the minute is going in the right direction. I think he realises the opportunity that's in front of him. And, you know, we're seeing against Joseph Parker, he showed tremendous toughness in that fight. I mean, he got hit with some bombs and he didn't go anywhere. And I just think right now he really believes it. And like you said, when you bring your child into the equation,
different
it
now.
changes everything.
Got
The
to
hairs
turn up.
went on there. Everything was on there. But yeah, I just think it's going to be a
Because this
great
could
fight.
steal this fight could steal the show, and I've got free show stealers in this one.
Yeah.
I think stylistically it's going to be a great fight because both guys are going to come to fight. I mean, Jack Massey, he's not the most, flashy fighter, but he's a textbook fighter. He's tough. He's got that typical British style, nice high guard, and he's going to come to fight. He's going to be right in front of him all the way.
I have an opinion, though. I think he brought his daughter up because he thought, like, the problem with Jai Opataya, he's the hardest bastard in the world. He has that, like, is he from New Zealand or Australia or something? He's got that, like,
New Zealand.
Samoan background or something.
Yeah.
He has
He's
this
got
hardness to him. Like, he's tough as nails. He reminds me of, like, a UFC attitude. Like, his attitude is very like that. And he's good at everything. He hits hard. He does everything well. And a southpaw. I think Jack Massey knows he's in the fight of his life, and he's thinking, I am pulling from everything, including my daughter, and I know I need to go at you 100 miles an hour. If I show any weakness, I am fucked. And I think that's where he's pulling from.
Do you think people are getting confidence from the Breedis performance? Because you looked at Opataya versus Breedis and you thought, and Breedis is amazing. Let's get that right? But then you're looking for chinks in armor. You heard already for the Ben Whitaker one, they mentioned Ezra. Fighters are going to look for something, and I think they've looked at Massey's probably looked at the Breeders thing. If I can bring it to you like that, I can stay in this fight. I can be in there. I think it's not a foregone conclusion at all.
You know what it is? Opataya really caught everybody's attention with relatively easy wins. So we had two nice touches, highlight real KOs.
Yep.
And now we're in there with Breedis and we're like, okay, so maybe when you're with guys who are on your level, it's not so highlight real worthy.
find out, mate.
So we're going to see what...
Yeah. Couple of questions to end this on. First off, who has the most to gain on Saturday night?
You'd have to say one of the underdogs. You'd have to say Cameron. You'd have to say maybe, obviously, Sarah's Matter. He's been in there, and he's been in there with former unified world champions. He's been in there with world champions. But I would say that Ben Whitaker's opponent is probably the one with the most to gain, because when you speak about the hype around Ben Whitaker at this moment in time, I think that a lot of people would see that as a huge, huge shock.
I think
Anyone disagree?
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
I disagree. Eubank is the man with the most to gain. The world is watching. Canelo will have his eyes on this. Yeah, because I'm
Financially.
talking it's financially right
He's
now.
going to if he wins this, he gets a huge paycheck.
We're back in
Guaranteed.
Riyadh. And you know, everyone started talking about the main thing was 2025 and the big fights. Eubank's name, he can sell, he can be on the main card, he can be the main man.
Who's got most to lose then? Who's got most to lose, lads?
But this is Eubanks has got
makes
his
it
family
Eubank,
name.
isn't
I
it?
think even if he loses, the opportunities will still be there. Whereas Liam Cameron, you know, he hasn't really been a name in boxing until he had a good performance against Lyndon Arthur.
But will it matter though? It's like
Absolutely.
someone up and then someone gone. I think for Eubank, he has the most to gain and the most to lose. Because again, if he drops it now, the Hamza, yes, he's got Conor Ben that's dangling, but he's got literally, this is the moment. You're in Riyadh, he's dressed up, he's actually made himself look like the show. Imagine it goes wrong after everything you said to him.
I just believe
outfit.
an opportunity.
He had a whole sword at the
He had
presser,
a
mate.
sword.
Bloody hell.
You do the sword.
Yeah.
You can't lose with a sword.
This is bad. Anyway, we'll wrap that up there. That was the Pain Game live from Riyadh, and we will be live on Saturday night on DAZN. The link is in the description below. We'll also be live on YouTube and Twitter. We'll catch you there. Me and the boys. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.